Welcome back to Earned Value Management. This is section 6, and here I want to review what we talked about in the previous 5 sections. All right, so let's review planning. Step 1 in planning is to break the work down into a work breakdown structure. And on big projects, what's typical is to go down to 3 or 4, maybe even 5 levels. Within that work breakdown structure, you want to define the activities, the work that's going to be accomplished, and this gets very detailed. After you've got activities within a work breakdown structure, you want to sequence the activities. In what order do they have to occur? You define predecessors, successors, dependencies, givers, receivers. Then you estimate durations, and this constitutes scheduled work. So if you go through all these steps, when you get to this point, you've got a schedule. With that, you can determine the critical path. You do that both with a Gantt chart or a network diagram. This tells you the longest sequence of tasks in the schedule, and it tells you what's going to drive your schedule. Then you estimate cost, and this is where you define the budgeted cost of work scheduled or the planned value. You assign a cost to each of the activities or the tasks that are in your schedule, and because you had sequenced them and because you had estimated durations, when you estimate costs this way, you get a time-phased budget. So the budgeted costs are phased over a schedule, and it becomes budgeted cost of work scheduled. Then you establish a performance measurement baseline, cost, schedule, scope. And I didn't talk about this, but it's important to put this under some configuration control. You don't want managers changing schedules at their own discretion. You don't want them changing budgets, and you don't want them changing scope. So they need a request to make changes. They need to be vetted. They need to be approved. So you want this performance measurement baseline under some control because you're going to use it to measure progress on the project. Then after you've established a performance measurement baseline, you perform work. And this is where you incur actuals. And you this is where actual cost of work scheduled occurs, or actual cost. And then when you do that, you take earned value. So when you accomplish tasks, when you perform work, you take earned value and you create a budgeted cost of work performed, or earned value. And now with all 3 of these, you can compare the work you did, the earned value, or the BCWP that you earned, how much you spent to do it, the actual cost, that should be actual cost of work performed, ACWP, and compare that against the budgeted cost of work scheduled. So you compare actual cost to earned value, you compare earned value to the schedule, and you determine whether the project is on schedule and within budget. So we also talked about earned value methods. We can use fixed formulas. This is 0-100 or 50-50 or XY. We can do milestone weights where we earn value at specific milestones like SR, PDR, CDR. We can do milestone weights with percent complete. We can do units complete, which is where we earn value every time we build a unit. We can do percent complete, which is similar to units complete, where we assess whether we're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% complete on a task. And level of effort, where we just lay out a budget over time and we earn value as time elapses. Okay, let's review calculations. So BCWS is budgeted cost of work scheduled. That is our plan, our time phase plan. In the new nomenclature, it's called planned value. So if you recall, we had a Gantt chart, and we had estimated the durations and the hours required for each of those tasks. That is the BCWS. BCWP is budgeted cost of work performed. That is how much work we get done, or earned value. So when we complete a task, we take credit for it, and that's earned value. ACWP is actual cost of work performed, or actual costs. When we do a task, companies will usually assign unique charge numbers for that task, and we can account for how many hours are spent on that task. The budget of completion is all of this BCWS rolled up into one total. So that's the total budget on the project. So schedule variance takes the budget cost of work performed, how much earned value you earned, and subtracts the budget cost of work scheduled. So if I perform more work than I was scheduled, this will be positive. If I perform less work than was scheduled, this will be negative. Schedule performance index is the budget cost of work performed divided by the budget cost of work scheduled. If I performed more work than was scheduled, this will be greater than 1. If I performed less work than was scheduled, this will be less than 1. Cost variance, likewise, is the budgeted cost of work performed, how much earned value I earn, minus the actual cost to do that work. If I spent less time to do that work than was planned, then this cost variance will be positive. If I spent more time to do that work than was planned, this cost variance will be negative. Negative is an overrun, positive is an underrun. The cost performance index takes the budgeted cost of work performed, the value that I've earned divided by the actual cost to perform that work. If I spent less time to perform more work, this will be a number greater than 1. If I spent more time to do less work, this number will be less than 1. So a number less than 1 is an overrun, a number more than 1, a CPI more than 1 is an underrun. And the estimate to complete is my estimate for the cost to complete the project. So I've already spent actuals. The estimate to complete starts from that point in time and estimates out to the end. The estimate at complete are the actual costs plus the estimate to complete. And I compare that to the budget of completion to get the variance at completion, the VAC. So estimate of completion is how much I've spent, how much budget I've spent already, plus what I estimate it's going to take to finish the project. And then the variance is my new estimate of what it's going to take to finish the project. Is the budget minus my new estimate of what it's going to take to finish the project. Okay, we talked about all the methods we can employ to compute the estimate to complete. So one method is I take my budget and subtract my actuals, how much I've spent, and that's how much I've got left. And my estimate complete is that I'm going to get it done from my budget remaining. Now, if I'm in an overrun condition, I may not have enough budget. If I'm in an underrun condition, I may have more budget than I need. So another method for computing ETC is I take the budget and I subtract the performance, how much work I've actually performed. Another method is I take the budget, I subtract how much work I performed, but I divide it by my cost performance index. So if I've been underperforming on cost, this says that I'll have a higher estimate that'll account for that underperformance, for the work remaining, the performance remaining. Likewise, if I've been overperforming on cost, I'll have less budget to perform the work remaining. You can also divide the remaining performance by the scheduled performance index. If I'm behind schedule, I can add more budget by dividing the performance remaining by SPI. Likewise, if I'm ahead of schedule, I can reduce my budget by dividing by SPI. And if I want to account for both scheduled performance and cost performance, I can multiply the one by the other and divide the performance remaining by the product of SPI and CPI. The to complete performance index based on the budget is simply the budget minus the performance I've taken, which is the remaining performance on the project, divided by the budget minus the actuals I've incurred, which is the remaining budget on the project. So remaining performance divided by remaining budget is the to complete cost performance index based on the budget of completion. So what that says is, given the budget remaining, this is the CPI I have to perform at to accomplish the performance remaining. The independent EAC based to complete CPI takes the performance remaining, which is the budgeted performance minus the performance taken, and divides by the revised estimate at completion minus the actuals. So that says take the performance you have remaining on the project, divide by the budget remaining based on your new estimate, and that's your to complete CPI. So these two can be different. If your EAC is different from your BAC, then these indices will be different. And what these say is BAC-based DCPI is the performance the project has to meet the BAC. The EAC TCPI is the performance the project has to meet the EAC. That concludes this presentation on earned value. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found the calculations a little intense, I recommend you watch them and listen to them a couple of times. Seek out help. Have somebody explain them to you. And I hope you got something out of this.